don't let the fear of you not being an expert stop you from pursuing your dreams and your goals of whatever business that you're in.
Hi, I'm John Timmerman, and Al ate so much meat on his birthday that I actually have the meat sweats.
Hi, I'm Rob Schauger. They're not going to catch us. We're on a mission from God.
And I'm Al Kutri, and I was once thrown out of a casino for playing a piano illegally and taking tips. It's the truth.
And we are the co-founders of the NoBull company.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Today's episode is brought to you by Rejection. Echo. Do you love me?
I don't have human love figured out quite yet.
Echo. I love you.
I'm flattered. Thank you.
Echo. I said I love you.
Thanks. It's good to be appreciated.
One more time. Echo. I love you. Say it back.
I don't know that.
Echo. I love you.
That's nice of you to say.
Yeah, screw this. I'm moving on. Hey, Siri.
Hello, I love you. How's it going?
What's up, Buzz Nation? Welcome to I'm a Little Buzz, the show where we bring a ridiculous amount of life to business, all while sharing a glass or can of whatever makes us happy, while sharing stories about what gets us buzzed. Rob, what's getting you buzzed right now?
You're not going to believe this.
I'm not. I'm not going to believe it.
So I convinced Michelle to join me on the 75 hard challenge.
What? Yeah, but how many days are you in? 23 now?
Today's 23.
Wow.
Whoa, do you have a calendar?
Yeah,
Are you
you're
marking
close.
on your calendar?
Freaking
I
stalker.
love your
Happy 24.
I love your new bedroom furniture. It's really nice. I'm glad you went with that
You
side.
just get a text from Al in the morning. Hey,
Yeah.
saw you're down 2 pounds, but you like to never.
Oh, man, like that roll. Where'd
Yeah.
you get it? So Michelle's going to join you?
She started yesterday.
It doesn't matter, right? You just like,
No,
you're on
it's the
23,
same-
it's the same thing.
Same
Yeah.
thing
She'll
every
just be
day.
23 days behind.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
You could extend out. You could go 98 hard.
Well, there's a gap in between. I think it's 30 days, and then there's actually phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
Oh, God, really?
Yeah. So I think I'll be good till the end of the year.
Nice. How you doing without whiskey? Pizza? You're a pizza guy. No sweets.
No sweets, no pizza. You have to follow a diet.
Yeah,
you know.
you can't have any cheat meals.
So the
I was just thinking of the things you normally love.
Yeah. The scale stayed steady for like 2 weeks, and then boom.
There you go.
So it dropped down
correction.
like 6.5 pounds.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you, buddy.
So yeah.
I got issues here.
Yeah, I know you spiked yours already. What's getting you buzzed, Albert?
Our new studio space.
Oh yeah.
Lease signed.
Love it.
Windows galore.
Wait till you folks see it.
There's nothing wrong with this space, right?
Can't wait for the mannequins.
Like, this was a nice, humble beginnings.
We're each gonna just have a mannequin or two behind us, like
so
looking down, like
Yeah, we're taking all the
creepily.
mannequins from Lord & Taylor because they're closing down, and then we're going to line them up in our windows. Fake audience.
Yeah, I was gonna say build it around the outside. We should have a fake
Well,
audience.
because it's tough to do these with no audience, so it's like...
It'll be like our version of the Today Show in New York City.
Yep.
We'll have it all fenced off, and all the mannequins will be out and
Yeah.
around us.
Yeah.
Basically, what they're doing for Major League Baseball games right
I
now.
know.
It's just
One of them's
pumped
gonna
in
be holding
audio
a
sound
sign.
or crowd sound and digitally.
Or where people are buying the freaking like pictures of themselves, like cardboard cutouts, and
really?
like sticking them in the seats.
No.
I'm good.
Well,
I'd rather have a mannequin from
my
Lord & Taylor.
mannequin's going to say, I love Al.
Can we
a big
put one of
sign.
those?
That was my favorite.
It's gonna be like just a girl.
Put one of
jumping up and down.
your lip smack
Yeah.
masks on the
So anyway,
mannequins.
yeah, the new studio is going to be great.
It's gonna be
We got so
dynamite.
much space in there. We can stretch out. Probably do it laying down one of these days.
Yeah.
I'll be on a
We'll all
couch.
be on a couch.
Full couch session.
It's good lighting.
Yeah,
Stay tuned.
Awesome.
stepping on up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You?
I'm getting jacked up about. Nope, I'm getting buzzed about getting back into running.
How's your knee doing?
Great, knee's doing great. I signed up for an ultra, which
Back in the
actually
day.
ended up happening July 18th.
They did do it.
Did.
Virtual? Ultra?
No,
Oh,
in
Jesus.
person.
How?
They got so
Because only like 5 people sign up for ultras. So
yeah.
they're like,
No, I
great.
think it's the distance.
Oh.
I think it's because it's so long. They went in waves.
Gotcha.
But so I signed up for that, as you guys know, and then the COVID hit, and the whole world blew up. Running world, event world especially,
did.
and I bowed out. I was like, no, just give me a refund, and I'll see about next year.
Yeah.
But after that, like I sort of just
You trained hard.
I
for
did.
that.
Yeah, my knee was busted for a little bit, but after that, I didn't go in as hard because I didn't have anything to train for.
Right.
But I started running
Back at
again. Yeah, and it feels good. I, as you guys know, come up with my best ideas running.
Mm-hmm.
So
You gonna take Tripper?
Lindsay bought
She's
a running
Running stroller?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's been a few times.
Yep.
We got him these little baby shades, babyators. They're
Oh
called.
my God! Really?
So now he's
Oh, what I would have if I
It's-
could have done that, something like that, invented baby-ators.
Oh, it would be so fun.
I was gonna say. I thought you were gonna say you wished you could be in the stroller getting pushed by John while he's running.
That too. Like that too. If only John would push me.
Listen,
in
you find a stroller big enough, and
Giddy up.
I'm ready. Let's do it. Some resistance training.
Yeah, fantastic.
Hey Buzz Nation, are you a Gary Vaynerchuk fan? How about David Meltzer? How about Shay Rowbottom, Constance Schwartz Marini, and more? That's right, NoBull 2020 2.0 is coming up April 8th, 2021. Do you want a free ticket? I know how you can get one. Head over to empathywines.com and buy any 12 bottles of delicious empathy, rosé, white, the red, and use the code NoBull2020 at checkout, and you will get a free $250 front section seating ticket to watch Gary, to watch Shay, and to watch all the amazing speakers April 8th. Head over to nobull2020.com for more info, and we'll see you there. Okay, well, today's show is on do you have to be an expert to be successful?
Thank God, no.
Yes.
Thanks,
And
Jesus.
Al brought up something really good, really great, is you have these different people that are out as influencers or business celebrities or whoever in the world, and some of them are experts, and that's why people follow them, and some of them are relatable. I mean,
Very relatable.
so we are very comfortable saying we're not the expert in a lot of business stuff.
We're learning as we grow.
Yeah, and nice, and we're okay with that. We're the conduit to delivering the education, through other people, through our guests,
Right.
through things that we're learning, and
Yep.
which one's better, who's it right for, which industries is that okay. So we're gonna chat it up about that.
Deep dive, as they say.
Ooh, the deepest.
I've heard that term 100 times in the last
deep
week.
dive?
Everyone's using the term deep dive right now.
That was
It's a buzzworthy term.
Yeah, that was Gary's. He sells the 4Ds, the daily digital deep dive.
Oh wow.
To go down to his place,
Yeah,
like 10 grand a day, I think
yeah,
used to be.
yeah.
Maybe we'll barter it.
So, who do you follow that's an expert?
Tony Robbins.
Okay.
Definitely an expert.
You know what's interesting though?
Or
I would
is
actually
he?
argue to say, so he's got a gift, right?
Right.
Presenting, pulling, things out of people, but he actually goes to experts for things like online marketing. I know I think he went to Frank Kern for a while. He goes and seeks people out.
He's a motivator. I mean, he's
Yeah, so he is an expert, but at the same time, he wrote that book, Money. I think of Mastering Money or something, and
Money
he
Master.
went and interviewed all of the world's biggest
he didn't
money
didn't
people,
know.
and then wrote the book based on their answers.
Yeah,
So I think that's
but
he's a little bit of both.
he's
People
a little
go
bit
to him
but
for
to me, right?
motivation.
He's
Yeah,
way ahead of me.
right.
So for me, let's face it. If I wanted to say, "Hey, Tony, what do you think of this?"
Yeah,
Or did you ever experience it? That would literally never happen unless I paid the $5,000 to $7,000 that it costs to go to,
so you can pay an expert and you get value. Can you? So I can't. Who is famous? Who's relatable? That can still charge for something or make a living off.
One of our speakers, Shay Rowbottom.
Boom. Yeah.
She's a perfect example. She's relatable as of a year or two ago. She was broke.
Yeah.
Like nobody.
Yeah.
Trying her hardest. Like that's a perfect example. And and I'm glad she's going to be at our conference, because I would suspect that by the time she gets to our conference, she's going to be 2 to 5 times bigger than she is now.
Yeah. Absolutely. But she's still an expert.
She's still an expert
in
her field.
LinkedIn marketing.
Yeah.
Right.
But as a result of her relatability, that's how she actually blew up.
Yeah.
That was her ticket.
I think that's the key. Unless you're talking about like a celebrity. Unless you're talking about somebody who makes money off of like endorsements or something like that. But they're like relatable.
Yeah, let's define relatable. What's our definitions of relatable?
Well, you go first.
Great. So
who's relatable?
My definitions of relatable are people that are in our same, somewhat of our same position in life, or close enough to it that they still really understand that space.
Use a music example.
Okay. So this guy, Ben Morrow, who I am friends with, I've played with him. He is the guitar player for Cher, Lionel Richie. He played with Britney Spears. He played with all the big pop stars. To me, he's an expert in that arena.
Mm-hmm.
But we are friends. Like, I've played with him. He's come back to Syracuse. He's from here. And he's still in a very, although he's in a very successful place, he's still very much in a vulnerable place of like, there's a lot more room for him to go. Like, he's got a long journey ahead.
Yeah.
Right? And he still looks at other guys like, holy shit, like, what am I going to do? And meanwhile, he's on stage with Cher.
Yeah.
Like, he's her guitar player.
Yeah.
And so I think he's relatable. So if he got online, he will answer you. I could say, hey, well, what's the best way to, and there's a lot of people so many people out there. I've talked to so many musicians from famous bands that you think they're way out there. They're not. They're very relatable. You know, one of the guys from Rascal Flatts, like people from horn players from Bruno Mars and things like that. Experts. They're experts.
So they're accessible.
They're accessible though.
Yeah.
And that makes you feel like you're close. It makes you feel like, okay, like that's not as far away as I think it is. Right?
It sounds like the key is, so you're using relatable.
That's my definition in terms of like relatable, but there's multiple definitions. So
no, I agree with you. I just maybe to put a slightly different spin on it is if somebody is humble, then it doesn't necessarily matter how big or how much of an expert they are, because if they're humble or accessible or empathetic and giving, you could call it a lot of different things. They could be The Rock,
right?
Who still is, if you see him live, like he will stop and talk to you and like give you like that kind of attention, and
that's humility,
right?
But for me, if you're the person that is needing that moment to help carve the path for you, I like a little bit more of the person I'm talking to be not as far away from where I am, because like gradual steps, baby steps. Like you talk to that person, they're not in a $50 million mansion in Malibu that I can't even fathom at this point.
So they're earlier on
Nashville
in their
apartment.
They're us.
Yeah,
right
they're
now.
us.
Who's still growing. Who just started fast, but
they're still searching. But to me, the person that's like, it's just like this like line, this trajectory that goes all the way up, and at the very top, I think it's hard for people to even relate to that, because it's like, holy shit, like you can't even see, a mile ahead of you, let alone at the very top. Now, we can see at the top. We know what people can imagine that and they can feel it, and I think those people are in the best spot when you can feel what the top is like and relate to that. But I don't know. It's a question. I don't have the answers to it. The question is relatability and the impact of it and how powerful it is or how not powerful it is.
I think one of the problems with like today's social media driven society is that people want to pay attention to the most successful, because that's like fantasy world. That's
right.
I want to be The Rock. I want to have my own tequila company. I want to be a WWE star. I want to be a NASCAR race. Like whatever the thing is, like that's what's sexy to people, and that's what's like super inspiring. And unfortunately, I don't think the majority of people look to people who are a little bit closer, but like growing, you know, like doing great things, but they just started recently because they haven't. I don't know what it is, honestly. Like, I think the same thing, right? Like, there's people locally here in Syracuse that are doing amazing things and growing awesome businesses.
Totally.
But if you told me like, oh, Frank is, you know, just built he made $10 million last year, I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. But then I go and like Gary Vaynerchuk says to do something, and I'm like, oh, you know, like that's just that difference.
Right, there's the psychology there that's what the whole point of the conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
And I am trying to figure out like maybe Frank actually has.
Frank's the one we should go and
is the one you should be spending a week with, not Gary.
Yeah, but a zillion times over, you're gonna take Gary.
100%.
You know,
100, and that's like what I think we should explore is like, what do people actually do? Because I can tell you myself, I've purchased a number of different online courses from people that are big time. I've also purchased courses from people that are very, very low on the totem pole, but I liked them because of the way they delivered it, and they were very, very much like me.
Did you get
the way they spoke, everything? Did
you get anything different in terms of the level or the value from the big time versus like the smaller time?
Yes.
Like, could you tell like they weren't as successful, but they were more relatable?
Well, yeah, because of course. I mean, I did, you know, there was a recent thing, and it was a Tony Robbins situation where he did what's called the Comeback Challenge, and it was free to everyone. Huge event. But it was completely, you know, you either paid to be on screen with him, which is that's a great thing, but it was still so intimidating and overwhelming that like even I would have never paid to be on screen because I would have been like, I'm good. Like I'd rather just watch alone, you know. It was so overwhelming and so intimidating because of the level of production. Now there's this other guy, Ross Cameron, I want to say, but he's from Warrior Trading, which is a very big, successful stock market webinar type group. Yeah. They have tons of students that they train to be day traders and things like that. But if you look at Ross's content, he responds to every single question, comment, remark, every single thousands there are on YouTube. He responds to them all. If you look up his delivery, it's a you know, a Zoom call. Obviously, we know about that kind of marketing, and it's pre-recorded in many cases. But in a lot of cases, it's not. It's live. So you're talking, and he's like, "Okay, yeah, that's a good point." And then, so to me, that was way more value because I didn't feel intimidated. I didn't feel like a tiny little peon. I felt like, okay, I was in the zone, and I felt like I'm not that far away. I'm not that far away from goal one, which is like learn about day trading. Yeah. But when I watched the Tony Robbins, I took the tools, but I was like, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? And I didn't even finish the course, to be honest with you. Really? Yeah. Just because he's so far away. Right. I took the content. I loved it. But like when it came to the upsell, when it was like, next week we're going to be launching this, I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I'm done. I'm done now. I'm out. Because I was exhausted from the level of intensity. Yeah. But it was all quality. Yeah. So that was my experience, and I don't know, maybe it's.
So were you just uncomfortable, or
I wasn't uncomfortable, but I was just like, it was just.
Was it negative self-talk? Like I don't have what it takes to.
No, it wasn't that at all. Because I do have what it takes. Like I know that content well. Mm-hmm. It's great content, but there was something about like the production was just too big for my needs. You know, I lasted like 3 days in it, and I was like, okay, I get it. Like this, I get what's going on here. Like it's, you know, they do the little like workout thing in the beginning, but as something happened psychologically. Where I was like, I know where this is going to lead. It's going to lead to another course that's going to cost X amount of dollars. Like, I knew what was coming, and I knew that the entire production was pre-recorded. The entire everything. So I was like, great, I love it. But I like to feel, like the timeline is closer than it actually is. Even if it's far away, if you feel like the timeline of your success or your initial goals are actually closer, it's like a rear view mirror. Things are closer than they appear, or whatever the thing is. If you feel like the timeline is closer, you have a better shot of staying excited. But if you feel like the timeline is like, holy shit, like there's my goal, it's daunting, man.
Yeah, the more unattainable it seems, the harder it is to stay
you're
engaged.
So far away from. But you talk to a guy like, let's say my buddy Ben, like he's in a nice little house, but he's like trying different. He's on Cameo now. He's trying different things. Like they're not playing. They're Dirk Bentley, his drummer, his house like burned down in a fight. You know what I mean? He was fundraising for himself. Like, but they're famous. Like they're famous people, right? Mm-hmm.
I think
I don't know. Maybe I'm talking in circles, but I just feel like
to tie into the topic of like, do you have to be an expert? I actually think that we're even though I mentioned the social media kind of economy that we live in, and people are dreaming for the stars and paying attention to what the big dogs are doing and saying like, oh, I got to do that. Like they're the ones they're paying attention to. I actually think there's a really great opportunity for people to track their progress and like just be honest with that, right? Mm-hmm. So I've seen this a few times. There was a guy that John Lee Dumas, Entrepreneur on Fire, I think was the name of his podcast. And so what he did, very interesting. He wanted to start his own online business. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to start a podcast. And so what he did is he started the podcast, very simple, and he did one new entrepreneur per day. He interviewed them, right? So here's a guy who doesn't have the knowledge. He's not the expert. Mm-hmm. So he started this podcast. These entrepreneurs were everybody from a local like construction worker to like everybody, right? Because to do one per day, 7 days a week.
That's a lot of people.
Right? That's a lot of people. So he did that, and then once he grew up an audience, right, after just asking questions to these entrepreneurs, then he launched his own community of people that also wanted to start their own podcast. And then it was, I don't know if it was a Facebook community or a forum, because depending on the time, Facebook groups might have not been out. Mm-hmm. But then he just launched this community. And now it was just an opportunity for other people to be like, oh, here's the software I use. Here's what I do. Here's what I do. Then he took that community and he said, hey, I'm launching my own podcasting course. Mm-hmm. Here's exactly how and all the resources I use. So he like became an expert. Right. So he started out as a non-expert and tracked his progress to the point where he might do this today. He puts his revenue on his website, like how much the company
is making,
like he makes, and all the expenses. He was the first one I ever saw to do that. And then I started to see all these other sort of online marketers do the same thing. I think Pat Flynn is another guy, Smart Passive Income.
Right.
And I thought that he has a similar story. His was more with blogs. So again, this is in the online marketing space, It
was a slow and steady, small incremental goals, though.
They were super honest. They talk about like their life. They talk about their struggles, their failures all along the way, and they get these massive followers.
Yeah, I think that's the win, though. I think the win is to be vulnerable and to like hang with the little clicks that are all kind of going together, and then know when to jump.
Yeah.
When to jump to the next click, because you're in that next group. Mm-hmm. But you always have you always have it like in sight, and you can like grab it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So in your opinion, so what defines an expert?
Proof.
Right. Proof. I agree.
Proof
that you're an expert. So you've either, we talk about the people who we want to speak at our conference. We want them to be tactical, practical. Yes. We want them to be people who have walked the walk. They have built a business. They're
gone
not
through the hell.
just a professional speaker, right? Unless they've built a professional speaking, I don't know, whatever. But like they've done an amazing job and built something, right? So to me, an expert is somebody who either has put in the time to become that. What's the 10,000 hour rule or whatever it is, right? So yeah, an expert could have a PhD, they could have an MD, they could have a law degree. They put in the time, they went to school, they did all of that, but then they've also won cases. And they've had successful surgeries, or they built a company and they have, have hundreds of case studies. So in my opinion, an expert is somebody who has proof that they have excelled in that area.
Yeah.
I would agree, and I think that I think that your level of expertise, of course, this is like John Madden, like like the obvious, stating the obvious, changes. Like today I got a call. I'm not the expert in many areas, but today I got a call from a girl that's graduating from Yale who wants to be in the media business. Somebody passed her along to me because I'm in the media business and I've been in it for a long time. And so she's looking to me as the expert. And I'm like, which is all so intriguing in this conversation because I'm like, oh God, I'm always searching for answers. But yet there's someone behind me that's like looking to me. So I think an expert is exactly what John said. They have proof, or they've done it long enough to really be able to give sound guidance and direction. Even if they don't have proof, they've done it long enough to be able to give the sound direction to somebody.
So I'll be clear, like that's my definition of an expert, but I don't necessarily think you need to be an expert to be successful.
I agree.
Right?
Correct.
Because an expert, and again, we could look up the actual definition.
You just need to be an expert to be an expert.
Right, basically. But you have an expert is like all encompassing, like they are the go-to.
Right.
But you provided value to that girl. Like you might not be an expert in the media space, but you have a lot of valuable pieces that you've learned along the way.
I can give her excellent advice that will allow her to possibly become whatever she wants and surpass me.
And here's what's really important for people to know too is that you're not an expert, right? Like let's say you're early on in your career.
Yeah.
There's lots of like younger, life coaches that are like 22 years old,
Right.
like whatever.
You don't know anything.
Right. But to those people, that doesn't necessarily mean they shouldn't try to appear to be an expert.
No.
What they should do is still be a life coach, but say, here's what I'm going through. I'm battling like depression or suicidal thoughts or drug addiction, or like be vulnerable, which is really incredibly hard to do.
Relatability is.
Yeah. They could still be a life coach, but they're more of a relatable one. Their value might be communicating what they're going through and how they're dealing with it, and that provides value to somebody else, but they're not necessarily like a life coach guru, like join my waiting list or whatever.
This is a little slightly off topic, but it's intriguing to me because I see it so often. I see it in trainers, I see it in doctors and nurses, and I see it in mostly those areas. But do you trust an expert that doesn't actually, let's say, look or exhibit the results of what they are an expert in?
Meaning they don't have the results?
Like let's say no, meaning they don't exhibit them. But
like a trainer that's out of shape.
Like an out of shape trainer, or a trainer that's not in great shape, or even more so,
or an overweight doctor.
This is the trainer thing. It's there are some, but when you go to I cannot go to a doctor, a general practitioner, because not a specialist, urologist, right? Like I don't care. You just know about the parts. But like let's say general practitioner overseeing your general health.
Yeah.
I could never see a general practitioner that wasn't a portrait of health within reason. Never.
That's one that gets me. I'm like,
I can't I
don't get it.
Like, are you? So how do we tie that into business success, all this shit?
So here's what Google says: what qualifies someone as an expert. An expert is somebody who has a broad and deep competence in terms of knowledge, skill, and experience through practice and education in a particular field. An expert, more generally, is a person with extensive knowledge or ability based on research, experience, or occupation in a particular area of study.
Yeah.
So my disclaimer is like if you're looking to get into business today and you're looking to hire an expert to help you, make sure that you do your homework. Do your due diligence. The marketplace is flooded today with, especially what we're talking about with digital media and with, fitness and all these things. I mean, if you're scrolling through your Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook feed today, that crap is just full of it.
Right.
At some point in time, something's going to click with that individual where you're going to like, okay, I'm going to go give them my, $39.95. Like I remember when I was in my early 20s, there was this guy his name was Don. I can't remember his last name. Late night infomercial TV, telling you how to make tons of money by placing ads in newspapers. Buy my kit now, as he's walking around his, Beverly Hills pool, which we all know today is like, all right. So he paid somebody to rent that for an hour. Yep. You go to the bank and you take out a bunch of money, and then you go rent the Lamborghini, and you're gonna make it rain.
It's total bullshit.
Here's an easy way, like not easy because you have to do research, but if your goal is to learn how to scam people out of money, to teach them how to scam people out of money, to teach them how to then you can go buy any online course because they probably have done a good job if you're going to buy it. But if you're taking that online course based off of specific, like a real estate or law or writing or building websites or whatever, like look to that person to see if they've done it, right? Like, have they done it, or have they been in the online marketing like circle of like, hey, take my online marketing course to learn how to market online,
right?
Because you could get sucked into people that don't practice what they preach or have only followed how to get you to sign up by taking a course of somebody else.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So like, just look and ask the person.
Yeah. That's the relatability thing, like that. When people when you can actually have like somewhat of a contact point with somebody, when you can't communicate with the person that's trying to give you advice, I think that's a huge hiccup in actually, using them as a resource.
Well, it depends too, because like somebody like Tony Robbins is just so, dude probably gets hundreds of thousands of messages through all of his different places like a week. So he's got a team of people filtering through it. Like Gary, when we have never talked to Gary.
Right.
We've talked to his team, a bunch of different people on his team. Right. But there comes to a point where...
But that's at the next level of... You can accept that. Like, that's an acceptable thing when people get to a certain point. But I'm talking about like...
But they're an expert already.
Oh, totally.
Right? So like you already know...
But as a consumer, we know what that expectation is. Mm-hmm. We're not expecting that we can call Gary Vee.
Right.
Or even email or anything. We, as a consumer, as someone that's trying to grow, we already know that.
Yeah.
And we accept it. But for the person that like, if you're looking at online trainers or you're looking at any kind of thing where you're looking to go to that next place one step at a time, I think it's super important to be able to feel a connection. Like there's two guys... real estate guys. One's name's Chris Crone, and the other one's name is I think it's Dan Pineda or something Pineda. Pineda's a former MLB player. Mm-hmm. Career ended. He was like, I was broke. Didn't know what to do. Got into real estate. Blah blah blah. The delivery, same thing with Ross Cameron there with the Warrior Trading. The delivery was so relatable, calm, and not in any way like experty. Not in any way. It was like you could just tell that he knew what he was talking about based on the way he was presenting it.
Yeah.
Those guys, both of them got my money in terms of teaching me because I was like, okay, I'm listening. Like they were talking to you like a human and not like a consumer.
Yeah.
And that, boom. For life, I will look to those guys as the expert, even if like the Chris Crones of the world, or the Grant Cardones or whatever. I know you have issues with him.
Mine's just on the delivery, I think.
Well,
You know?
but that's not relatable.
That I was gonna say.
It's not relatable.
That gets into
you can't talk to a consumer like that, even though you might actually be the expert, right? Like,
Yeah.
I will never, ever. You'll never win me, and then you're you're ultimately not looking out for me because.
So that gets into also even for the experts, who relates to them, right?
Right.
So you get like a Wolf of Wall Street. What's his name there? Jordan Belfort.
Jordan Belfort. Yeah.
He's got his podcasts and probably courses now and stuff like
He's
that.
oddly relatable though.
Well,
To
maybe
me.
for you. I was gonna say
I kind of liked his delivery, but
for me, he's not relatable. He's almost more entertainment than
Right.
it is
Oh, yeah.
value
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me. Grant Cardone, like I don't relate with that, like in your face, like money. Like I don't relate with that. I relate more with Gary Vaynerchuk of like humility, being good to human beings, like
Totally.
working your ass off. Like I relate more to that, even though they're talking about similar things, right? I don't really relate with Tim Ferriss, who
I have never listened to him.
of 4 Hour Work Week and author, and he's like a super
Intellect.
scientific, like analyzation, intellect. I don't relate with it. So I listen to some of his stuff in his interviews, and he's a great interviewer, but I just don't connect with it. So I think even if you are an expert, you're going to have some people that just gravitate to your personality because you're relatable.
Right.
Same as if they're your neighbor and you like
Right.
football and they like football.
Right. 100%. And it all comes back to likability, being relatable. And I think it's a huge, I mean, we don't have a product to sell. We don't have anything to sell. We just want people to come to our conference. I mean, ticket sales, of course, but like, it's really, in my mind, we aren't selling anything, but
I mean, I think we're selling knowledge.
Yeah.
But not our own.
right. It's not a
Right.
But to me, that's relatable. People are going to like, oh, I like these guys, like that.
Well, that's
I
the only
hope.
reason people are watching or listening to
Right.
this is because we're relatable.
We're not
because
scamming anybody.
we're not appearing like
Yeah.
on a panel. And honestly, like the more polished we make this, like we might lose some people.
Right.
Or maybe we lost some people when we went from the Facebook Lives to like now pre-recorded.
right, because they can't interact.
Yeah. But I think that's just part of
Right.
growing.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
But I mean, even that woman that emailed us and said it was so refreshing. What the hell did she say? She she wanted to sign up for the digital workshop.
Right.
And she was like, when can I get tickets? And I was like, well, not yet, unfortunately. Like, we're still getting it going. And she was
Sign
like,
up for the digital workshop, everyone out there.
yes, September 17th.
Yeah.
Actually, there will be two.
Oh, August.
August
Do we pick?
20th? It's a Thursday. Whatever August 20th is.
Go to one of our websites.
Yes. Pop it up on screen.
Yeah.
But she said, she was like, yeah, I'm excited about it because I can tell that like I'm not being scammed. You're not trying to upsell me. You're not trying to, it's all value. And like, I can just feel that like, there's nothing,
Yeah.
it felt good to me.
give, right?
Yeah.
It's the jab, jab,
So
jab.
that made us feel like $1 million.
Yeah.
The other thing I think too in the expert is like, are they continuing to develop themselves to get better? Versus I've arrived, so I'm just going to sit back and just spit my knowledge out and just collect the checks. Like there's a gym owner, local, Ryan Obernesser is his name, young guy, younger than me. He is in phenomenal physical shape. So he went to school, stayed humble, worked his ass off. He stays in great shape himself. His wife is also in great shape. So they model what they talk about.
Yeah.
Eating, working out, doing everything else. Started small, grew it, invest in it, grew it again. Now they are investing in themselves. So he's gone to seek out Bedros Keuilian. And so that he can get better, so that not only can he continue to service the local market, but now he wants to teach others, how to do what he's done.
Take it to the next level.
And then so he's bumping himself up again. I'm watching the trajectory of what he's done, and it's super impressive. But he continues to spend his money, to invest in himself, to get better, so that he can up his game and continue to give and deliver to the people that he's working with.
And who's the guy's name? Bedros Keuilian. Is he the one that owns
Body Boot Camp.
Right. So he did it, right?
He did it.
So he is an expert, at least in building those businesses, right?
I mean, you've got to...
I like his delivery as well.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
So I think I think we're all sort of on the same page. That no matter what level you are as an expert, right? Like you might just be starting out and you can give this much value, and then next year you can give this much value, and like you keep you keep becoming more and more of an expert, and then your relatability is tied to your personality, your humility, your delivery, and no matter how big you get, if you're willing to be humble and have humility and empathy for your audience, like you're going to get a lot more people to relate to you. I don't know, the word relate, it's weird. It's weird. It's weird because like you might not relate to them, like look, feel, smell, act like them, but you connect, I guess, is a better word. Right? Like if you can connect on some level, with Tony Robbins because of how he was, his upbringing,
raised,
right? Like I guess that's a form of relatability that might attract you to them. Connect. Just like people, actually, Gary Vaynerchuk has a lot of like immigrants that connect with him because of his,
and he connects with them.
Yeah, right. He's probably willing to do a little bit more for them because he feels it. More than. Me, I grew up in like a middle class, American household.
Or at least to feel just anything enough that's like, oh, like they're not that different than me. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, like we're not.
I was gonna say, which is crazy because,
well, and the more the more people see you doing different things. Like I had a guy reach out to me the other day. He sold his company locally, so construction business, sells the business or closes it up, whatever he did. Moving out of state, gonna buy this, gonna go work for this other company and then eventually buy it. Well, things change midstream, so he reaches out to me on Saturday and says, "Hey, I've got a situation. Can I pick your brain?" So I said, "Sure." So he explains the situation, and I said, "Well, send me the contracts that you've got." So he's reaching out to me am I an expert? In that arena of business contracts? No, but I know enough to say, hey, let me see if I can reach out. So you need a group of lawyers in this area. Okay, let me do that. Right. Or let me review this. This looks fishy. And then my ego, it doesn't have to be so big to where I'm going to like try to bullshit my way through this situation. It is, hey, this is what I know. This is where I can steer you. Mm-hmm. This would be my suggestion. That type of thing. But
yeah. In that kind of context is like, don't try to be an expert, be relatable, and you will probably eventually become an expert.
Right.
Yeah. And I the conversation kind of took a nice turn into the motivation behind your expertise, right? Like, don't try to be an expert.
Yeah.
Like, just if you're an expert, good for you, great.
Right.
You always have to have a motivation and a gut check. Always, because that's the only way you will that's the only way that you will stay relatable or connected to humans is if you remain human.
Yeah.
It's the only way. If the second you graduate out of that and suddenly now you're this elevated figure, you've lost a huge component to your long-term success.
To round out the show with an example from our previous podcast, Nick Shaw, who was a few podcasts ago, at the time of this going out, he said at the end of the show, one of the things that he can attribute his businesses, RP, Renaissance Periodization, to is his ability to continuously connect with his customers. Like even as they grow, they're still putting a lot of effort into customer service and like making sure and connecting. And so, he's an expert. His business partner is an expert. Like they are these experts in strength training and nutrition and diet and things like that, but he's still making sure that connection exists. And that if he can keep that up as they scale and go crazy,
he will have an audience that is so loyal.
Yeah. That's why, what's the shoe company? Zappos.
Zappos, yeah.
That's why Zappos became a $1 billion company or whatever they are now, owned by Amazon, but was because they just invested so much into connecting with their customers.
Right.
Totally off topic. Was it you that told me that they're now offering single shoes?
No.
Like they're offering, you can buy like a shoe.
For what?
Like what, your right foot?
If you
Like
have
if you only have
different
one-
if you only have 1 foot or you have different sizes, feet, like you can basically
Whoa,
like buy
that's
a shoe.
Game changer.
I know, it's crazy.
Huh.
Newsworthy, I'll put that in the link.
Yeah.
That's not 5 days ago, but I thought like, did John tell me
No, it wasn't me. That's really
that you can buy a single shoe?
that's really creative.
That's cool.
Like for them to think that and be, I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
they got all sorts of customer data,
Well,
but
right.
like that's just another example of like serving your customers. Gets into a whole other topic, but
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
I also,
Good
just
show.
another sidebar, I do want to know, would you see an unkept
a nun.
physician? No.
Oh.
Would you go to a general practitioner that was out of shape? Because there are hundreds.
I would have a hard time.
Right?
Yeah, like not good, but I haven't seen a GP in like over a decade, probably. I just take care of myself.
Yeah, I think I'm
eat
going on
right.
like 3 years.
I got issues. I mean, not physical.
But
I have mental
I'm with
issues.
you, though.
I have
But
mental
I d-
issues every year. Like everything, check.
I agree with you and you. I would have a problem if they were, I don't know, like smoke it. Like I saw them smoking outside,
Yeah,
or
are
like
you out of your freaking mind, bro?
Yeah.
Don't tell me about my cholesterol. Like,
right.
look at
Or
you.
they're issuing you the standard protocol of what you learned from the your
Yeah.
ninth grade
right.
health class. Oh, here's the
Right.
food pyramid.
There's
And,
no
I'm
sense
like,
of yeah.
Yeah.
what are we doing? We're gonna measure you. We're gonna take your height, your weight, check your blood pressure.
Yeah.
Listen to you
it
breathe.
looks good.
Everything looks good.
Okay, pal.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
I would have a problem. I would definitely have a problem.
The problem
I thi-
too is that like finding the good ones, like they're not taking on new patients.
No, because they're the fucking best.
Yeah.
They're the best.
Good
which
show.
is
Good show.
I had fun.
I hope it made sense. It was a little. We got lost a few times, but like, and it's kind of a weird topic. Like, I don't really.
Yeah, it's
It's a strange topic.
again because we're not experts.
yeah.
No.
So we're sharing with you guys, what we've learned through our combined years of business growth and knowledge, and what we're seeing and hearing on a daily basis, both through our individual lives and then collectively through the show and through the interviews.
And I think the point, at least that I'm getting away from now having this conversation is that if you need a mentor, if you need some guidance, like you should go seek out an expert, but that doesn't mean you can't find value along the way from your neighbors, your colleagues, whoever, everybody can teach you something.
And don't let the fear of you not being an expert stop you from pursuing your dreams and your goals of whatever business that you're in. Like
Absolutely not.
do not let you I was guilty of that. Like I did not pursue the vision that I had of speaking and keep teaching and coaching on leadership. Like, well, who the hell's going to listen to me? Mm-hmm. So what did I do? I know I've got 25 years of business knowledge, so I went and found more places to educate myself so that I could pass along somebody else's expertise while I continue to do mine. Do not put your dreams on hold because you don't feel like you're an expert.
Amen. As always, everyone, we are super appreciative for you watching us and listening to us. Remember, you can check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and now IGTV if you'd like to watch our beautiful faces. If you would just like to listen to us, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify. Subscribe. We have 2 episodes that come out Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be back right here. But until then, cheers, everyone, to life and business. May you prosper in both. Hey everyone, remember, if you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Play, leave a review. Leave a 5-star review because you love us. That's how we will get more people to share our journey that is the NoBull Company. In this podcast, I'm a little buzz. So remember, leave a review. We love you. We would love for you to tell the world how much you love us. And we'll see you next show.